What's going on, YouTube? So I'm up here. People have noticed that I don't really add the street signs or the street names to the job sites that I go to. So I'm up here on Cliff Top and I don't know, what did that one say? Shore Heights. All right. And then I'll try to do my best to show you guys the addresses and stuff, you know, so you can see or follow along on Google Maps, you know, everything like that. Yeah, so it's a beautiful day up here, as you can tell. You can see why these people choose to live up here by the because of the weather alone. It really doesn't get better than this unless you have a fire. You know, then it turns into a complete nightmare. So I actually came in off of this road that one of my subscribers was wondering about. I think it was Sandy Cape Road or Sandy Cape Lane, something like that. It's a little bit behind us. And they were wondering if one house in particular, I won't say the address, was damaged. And it basically looks like the whole street is good. I think the whole street was saved, which is great. They lucked out. I don't know if it was just like a wind thing. Maybe the wind wasn't pointing in the direction. It's a beautiful little street too. I think it's Sandy Cape. It's a small street though. So here's not a through street. All right, so now we're on, let's see, Cliff Top and let's see here, Cliff Top and Malibu Vista Drive. And we'll come down here. I guess the boat was spared. I don't know if it was like that before, but off in the distance, you can see, maybe you can see, I'm not sure. Basically Santa Monica. It's a little foggy out, so you might not be able to see the Santa Monica Pier from here. But it's kind of a fun little place to go in the summertime with you and your girlfriend or your kids or whatever. It's kind of it can be kind of dangerous at nighttime. I don't know about going there at night, you know. But on the weekends during the day, it's kind of a fun little place to go. Even during the day, you got to be mindful of your surroundings. There's a lot of drug addicts and people who aren't exactly all there mentally. So if you ever do choose to go to the Santa Monica Pier, have your wits about. There's a lot of, oops, I almost fell. There's a lot of gangbangers too, and cholos in Santa Monica. So be mindful of the colors that you wear as well, as crazy as that sounds. And you know, most of the time, 9 out of 10 times, or really 99 out of 100, everything's all good. But every once in a while, you'll come across somebody who's just completely out of their mind and having a bad day maybe, I don't know. So you can see it's been, the way that they're cleaning up, again, you know, I've brought this point to your guys' attention in prior videos. They're just bouncing around from one lot to the next. Not sure why they do that. Obviously it's like FIFO or something like that, first in, first out. Plus some people might just be opting out of the cleanup altogether by the Army. You can see. I don't really want to go on their property. It's not it's still, you know, trespassing it. So I try to stay on the sidewalks and be respectful. It's not my, you know, I don't live there. So I'm not going to go over into their backyard or anything like that and look at the ocean, beautiful ocean views that they have on the other side of that wall right there. But that wouldn't be polite or respectful. So I don't do that. I'll just stay right here on the sidewalk and film from the street. That's fine. Okay with that. You know, the other day I was talking a little bit about the stock market and how these tariffs have significantly impacted the market thus far, even though we haven't really felt the full effects of the tariffs yet. Everyone is really speculating as to what's going to happen. I think it's pretty safe to assume that the price of goods is just going to go up. Like all of the products that we sell that are imported from Canada, Mexico, and China, prices of those things are going up. You know, and the reason why I brought that to your guys' attention is, first of all, because economics and interest rates and the stock market and real estate and all of that stuff, for whatever reason, is very fascinating to me. But also take into consideration the fact that the people who live in these areas, like the Pacific Palisades or Malibu or Santa Monica, these are the global elite for the most part. These are extremely wealthy people. And there's a very high probability that all of the people, maybe not all of them, but a significant portion or percentage of the people who live up in the Palisades and in these areas, you know, have a pretty significant amount of money in the stock market, right? A lot of these people probably made their money in the markets. So now I'm just speculating. I really don't know 100%, but I think it's safe to assume. I forget what the statistics are or what the numbers are, but I think it's like the top 10 wealthiest people in America have control or like possess 90% of all the stocks, something like that. So in other words, these people who live in the Palisades and Malibu have a lot of exposure to the stock market. So what happens to the market is going to be, you know, very impactful to them. So not only are they going through this catastrophic fire and the rebuilding process, but now they're at odds with the stock market. Nobody really knows what's going to happen. Everyone is sort of speculating, you know, until these tariffs actually go into effect and we start to see the price of things go up. Nobody really knows what's going to happen. So I think we can make safe assumptions as to what we think is going to happen, but just give it some time. All right, so anyways, I like to ramble and rant and go off on these little economic spiels. All right, so here's another street for you guys. This is Malibu Vista Drive and Kingsport Drive as well. I don't know what that is. Looking at that wine bottle or alcoholic bottle. I don't know if you guys are aware, but I don't drink. I haven't been drinking for quite some time now. Really, since my, you know, I don't know, I just gave it up and it just wasn't for me. I struggled with it as a youth and with drugs and alcohol, and was in and out of juvenile halls as a kid. I remember how eye-opening some of those experiences were. Literally being in the in juvenile hall and being the only white kid in there, surrounded by, you know, some really bad kids, some kids who have been, you know, treated not so good in their life, you know, or they were just on drugs or under the influence, or gangs had pretty significant impact on their lives. You know, these are Crips, these are Southsiders from all different neighborhoods. And so anyways, you know, it's a bit off topic, but yeah, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't use drugs, I don't do any of that stuff. Although I did do it when I was a kid, so I understand how gripping it can be. I struggled with it for many years, and it was also really fun too, though. I had some of the best experiences of my life when I was, you know, under the influence, whether that was just partying or whether it was with multiple women at the same time and stuff like that. You know, it was fun. was fun. But those days are long gone. And you know, I don't miss it. I don't miss it at all. The only thing that, for whatever reason, I feel like an outcast kind of when I go to family gatherings and my friends and family are drinking alcohol and, you know, smoking weed and stuff like that for the most part. And they're all really successful people. Like my family's, they're all good people. They all work. They're in insurance. They're in construction. They're, you know, they're good. My family's good people. You know, do some of them smoke J's on the side? yeah, they do. But that's cool. Who cares? You know, I can't. I'm a truck driver. I'm you know, I get random drug tested and random like breathalyzer tests and stuff like that. So I can't. Plus, I have no desire to do that. I'm done with that, and I'm never going back. But if you like to drink, who cares, man? That's you. Good for you. You know, I don't hold it against you. Both of my grandparents were very successful people, and they drank every night. They would come home from work, and it was martini time, and you know, Granddad would shake up a martini, and Grandma would rip back a couple of shandies, as she would call them, and that's cool. Like, I don't really care. My family is good people. So, anyways. They are starting to make some progress, as you guys can see. But I mean, there's also, to be fair, you know, a lot of work that needs to get done. You know, so there are thousands upon thousands upon thousands of homes that have been destroyed and are, you know, gonna need to be picked up still. So, all right, I'm not sure if you can see, the sun's kind of glaring, but this is Malibu Vista Drive and Wake Crest Drive, okay? So maybe you guys can follow along to see what some of these beautiful little houses looked like before the fire. It looks like they cleaned up these couple of lots. I wonder, I haven't heard anything about investors coming in and trying to swoop up a bunch of land yet. I'm sure it's happening, but I don't know for sure. I haven't talked to any contractors who are building houses just yet and asked them whether or not they're seeing that, because they'll be the first to know. As the home builders, the people who are going to build houses will be the first to know who's, well, other than the landowner, right? But in time, you know, I have a lot of friends in the construction industry doing what I do for a living. In time, I'll talk to them and I'll go to these job sites and developments. Maybe, like, I'll give you an example. Like, you've got two lots right here. Maybe these two people were really desperate and an investor comes up to them and says, I'll buy both of the lots cash. And they sell it. And then they can build just one, I guess, mega mansion. It's not really a mansion because the lot's kind of small. It's probably, between the two lots, you might have a quarter acre, maybe, you know. In California, or in this location, that's a lot of land. You know, beachfront, coastal communities, like, and that's nothing, to be honest. Like, I've been to this one guy's house out in Malibu. He owned 100 acres and had a horse ranch overlooking the ocean. He worked for Microsoft, and I think he was like one of the original guys. Beautiful house, oh my God. 100 acres in Malibu on the top of a cliff overlooking the ocean. And he was building this giant horse property. He's a billionaire for sure. You know, there's no way you can have that amount of land in Malibu and not be a billionaire. And the barn that they were building for the horses was just like, it was like a house, like a modern style house. It was so nice. Isn't it amazing? I know I'm like bouncing around from one topic to the next, but look at this tiny little surf house, untouched. Maybe it was just because they don't have gutters and no embers were able to catch. I don't know. I don't see any gutters on the house, you know? But then you look right next door, boom. I love these little purple flowers. But you can see the view, the ocean view that they would have had. And at nighttime, the sunsets are really amazing. Brother. So it looks like this guy's going around and delivering fuel to all of these little pop-up generators. That's cool. And off in the distance, I'm not sure if you can see them. Those are big old water reservoirs, and that's how they get their water up here. Big old tanks up there. This house right here, I remember delivering a bunch of rebar years ago. I think they were building that pool in the back or something like that. I'm not exactly sure, but I remember coming to this job, this house in particular. There's a lot of houses that I've been to up here. And delivered, whether they were building a patio in the backyard or they were redoing the roof, so I was dropping off lifts of plywood, whatever it was. Look at this truck. That's a cool Peterbilt. New style, old school Pete. I love truck driving, if for those of you who didn't know. I'd love to own my own truck one day, just like that maybe. Stop making money for other people, start making money for myself. But these trucks nowadays are pretty advanced and sophisticated. They're pretty expensive. They can go from 100 to $250,000 for a sick truck, depending on all the bells and whistles that you got, you know. And in California, they got to be like up to this new CARB compliance and stuff, so there's a lot of like rules and regulations. You gotta be licensed, bonded, insured. I don't have all this stuff. I think a lot of people fail in the truck driving industry too. But anyways, I love doing it. I love having space and time to myself to just think about my life and where I'm going, and I love every day is like a new adventure kind of thing. So this is Wake Crest Drive and Castle Rock Drive. Doesn't look like this little section was hit too bad, but it got hit. Yeah, so I love truck driving, I really do. It's not for everyone. I've worked at a couple of different companies and seen the industry itself can have a very high turnover rate. Some people just can't deal with sitting in bumper to bumper traffic and working 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 hour shifts. And it's out of your control. You don't get to dictate how quickly the traffic flows. You know, you just gotta roll with it. But for me, it can be a bit calming and soothing just having time to myself to listen to music and podcasts and things like that. And not having to worry about, you know, a boss hovering over my shoulder all day long. So, those are some of the reasons why I really enjoy it. Plus, every day is different, you know? Some days you're up here. What's up, brother? In the aftermath, and then other days you're up in Solvang, checking out the little Swedish community. And then some days you're in Santa Barbara, and some days I'm in the straight ghetto in Boyle Heights, East LA. You know, or I'm in Compton or Crenshaw, and it's, man, I don't envy the people that live in those neighborhoods. They're pretty rough. Some of those housing projects look like prisons. Super rough neighborhoods in Los Angeles. Riddled with Gangs, drugs, violence, crime. Not for me. I'm good. I did that when I was a kid. I'm good. I don't want to do that anymore. So here's Seahorn Drive. And let's see, Kingsport Drive. It's pretty clear that these guys got a lot of work to do still, but it's coming along. I pulled over here. I like to pull over in these neighborhoods and take my 30-minute break or whatever, and go for a walk. I don't like to eat too much food on my lunch. Like, I'm not gonna eat a big old burrito or something like, or a big old pizza. Or I try to eat pretty light throughout the day. I eat like fruit and protein bars and yogurt, stuff like that. And then I go on these little walks. Try to stay in shape. Make sure I keep up on my ability to perform physically and mentally, stuff like that. Sorry for the noise, but construction zone. Let me go back down the hill. I wonder if any of these people have had any problems yet with the insurance companies paying out or not fully insuring, or not paying the full bill, I guess. I don't know. I'm sure there's rampant fraud that's taking place. A lot of people claiming that things got burned up in the fire and didn't, like if you had valuable, like jewelry, or you had paintings, or if you had like really rare bottles of wine. Some of these people probably had some nice little cellars. And all of these things are insurable. Jewelry, paintings, watches, wine bottles. Some of them are really expensive and they go up in value. And I bet you there's a lot of rampant fraud going on right now. Trying to collect the insurance money. The insurance companies know it too. The perfect opportunity for people to take advantage of, right? So anyways, I love these little Japanese style, this isn't really a Japanese style garden, but I love those little like cricket houses or whatever they're called. In my neighborhood, there's a couple of streets that have a lot of Japanese people that live on them, and they always have the nicest gardens. Like their front yards are beautiful, their backyards are beautiful, all that stuff. All right, well, this video is getting kind of long. It's about 25 minutes now. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and cut it off. So we're gonna finish on Wakecrest Drive and looks like Seahorn Drive. Again, I wanted to say thank you before I close this one out to all of the people who have been liking and commenting and subscribing to my channel. I really appreciate it. Yeah, so thank you again for all of that. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to continue to see updates of the rebuilding process in the future going forward. I'm not going anywhere, and these houses aren't going to be built anytime soon. So if you guys like to follow this stuff, go ahead and subscribe. I appreciate it. And I'm getting really close to 1,000 subs, which is going to be a pretty big, significant milestone for me to hit. So again, thank you again. That's really cool. I never thought anyone would have any interest in work or content that I, give out. But anyways, thank you again, guys. Until next time.